this slide up here just because I'm going to refer to this site a whole bunch during the class. And we're not going to do it today, but do you see that there's 4 videos here? They're about 5 minutes long, and you might be wise off to listen to them because it explains what the Master Association is, what the Federation is, what the Rules Association is, and assorted little things. They're about 5 minutes long, so sometime when you're sitting on floor duty or whatever, open up the site and look at those pages. Also, I'm going to have some slides up here, but you see that my content is much larger than it's going to fit on the slide. I put all of my notes onto the hub, as well as the attachments, so you can refer back to them, so you don't have to sit here and scribe or and not listen. Okay. Okay, we're done. My claim to fame is that I've lived in Sun City Center since 2003. My parents lived there since 1980, so I've been a visitor. So I've been a condo president for 4 years. So I do know some things. I don't know everything. I'm just the most knowledgeable person here, but by no means an authority. So I'm going to refer you to websites. You should go and check them regularly. Okay. So, just for some general information, if you want to sell in Sun City, it's just general information for you. You got to understand that the MLS contains information, especially in Sun City, about the washer, the dryer, the golf cart, all of that stuff being included, not included. The contract is the whole understanding of the deal. So I have had many agents that neglected to put, not necessarily in its brokerage, have neglected to put those things on the contract or in an addendum, and they've got stuck buying it. So I don't understand that that is the full understanding of the contract, what you have on there. The other thing is, ARENA is a meeting of the real estate agents in Sun City Center. It's usually held, it has been held twice a month in assisted living or independent living residences in Sun City. Since COVID, because those things were off for us, they have just started that up again about once a month. In the ARENA, Eric Hackman is the person you contact to get on the list of when they're having the meetings. And his email address is here. Normally, when the market is normal, they have a meeting, it's an hour long, and then we go out and we visit 9 properties that are around Sun City Center. Gives you a great idea of the properties, the prices, other brokerages, properties and prices. It's just a good way to interact with the people. Another thing is that there are approximately 114 condo associations at this point, and about the same number in Sun City Center. So you need to know the rules, and the rules are all different. Know your market area. If you do a search of 33573, which is the zip code, you're going to get the houses on 19th Street. You're going to get the houses on Cypress Village, and those are not part of the active adult community. They don't have access to amenities, so you need to pay attention to that. Maybe there's a flip box on MLS that you can put to put over 55, and that might be the best way to sort them out. There is, in Kings Point, there is no $3,000 fee. That is in Sun City Center only. That's in the state of the community. And there's no CDBs in Sun City Center. Okay, this is all about Sun City Center and not Kings Point. There are three distinct areas. There are three distinct areas. There's the north side, that's the north side of 674. There is the south side, it's the south side of 674, and Renaissance area. They're very, very distinct, but they are all members of the Sun City Center Community Association. If you want to find out anything about the Community Association, you go to the suncitycenter.org, and you get their articles of incorporation, their board members, the club presidents, the whole history of Sun City Center, which is quite interesting. The POAs and homeowners association presidents and contact information. They usually keep it quite up to date, so reference material. Within Sun City Center, there are condo associations and single-family residences. Just because a building is attached, it is not a duplex. There's no duplexes in Sun City Center. There are only single-family attached and condos and regular single. All are required to be part of the community association, and there is a fee of $309 per year per person. It is required that you belong. There is a $3,000 fee paid at closing for capital improvements to the community association. Some have quarterly fees for lawn maintenance, management fees, associations, and all kinds of things, just like the condos do. So prior to writing an offer, age restrictions. The age restrictions are it's a 55+ community. It's governed by housing for older people. All of that is on the hub, so we don't have to do it. There are one person needs to be at least 55 to reside in a property. There are exceptions, but one person needs to be 55 in general. Between the ages of 50 and 55 can apply for an exemption to the homeowners association. I'll get to that. Yes, you can. Anybody of legal age can buy a property in Sun City. You just can't, unless you have some. Okay. You can apply. You can apply if you're 50 or so to get an age waiver. They can approve it or decline it. Once you get approved, you take it to the community association so they know what they're doing. No one under the age of 18 may live in a home for more than 30 days per year. This is a HUD guideline with no exceptions. It's on the paperwork that that's around. In Sun City Centers, again, there's condos, and in that case, you need to have a homeowners association disclosure and a condo association disclosure. If you're doing paperwork in Sun City Center, not in. Buyers should take their settlement statement to the community association with their government ID and get a picture ID taken so that they can use the amenities. The rules for the associations are many and they're varied. Pets in general, 2 are allowed per household, but that's not a given. You need to inquire and find out if you have somebody pet. I know of somebody who's not here right now who they had 3 pets and they just assumed that the 3 pets were going to be allowed and the whole deal fell apart. So don't assume anything. In most cases, there's no fences allowed. There's the ladder streets, and if you look at the things in Sun City, there's the map, and you can see that there's some streets that look like that. And in some of them, the fences are allowed, but in most cases, not. And in most areas, improvements such as painting, shrubs, roofs, driveways, they need to be by the association. Our RV parking is 24 to 48 hours, just for loading and unloading and parking in your driveway, except in the areas where there is no homeowners association. And there is a little area off the web that they do available. Even in some of the associations, a small pickup truck can't be parked in the driveway overnight, even if it doesn't have any signage on it. That's another area. No motor vehicle or boat repairs to be conducted on the lots, except in those areas where there's no motor. No antennas, satellite dishes, or anything like that, except for the time they're allowed by law, with TV and they'll have to be put around that. Tile and metal roofs are only in some associations, the others need the regular tender. Some even have restrictions regarding vehicle washing. They don't let you wash and drive in the car when you drive there. If you live in Kings Point and you choose to want to go to anything over at Sun City Center, such as using the tennis courts or meetings and stuff over at Sun City Center, there is a $125 annual fee that needs to be paid by the residents of Kings Point. Any other places,
Please.
in the Sun City Center office, at the floor desk, there is a flash drive. It has the floor plans for almost all of the homes in Sun City Center. In Kings Point. It doesn't have most of the Mentos just because I haven't put them on there. Feel free to download it to your computer, borrow it and return it, because it's the only one there. So if you take it, then the next person doesn't get it. Renaissance area, verify the fees because they change. The fee that's mandatory at this time is a $2,495 plus tax, social membership at the Renaissance Club. It is required, it's not something that's optional. There's also, and that doesn't include golf. The Renaissance area is also subject to fees, rules, etc. The Renaissance Club is owned by Club Link, it's not owned by the community, so you need to deal with Club Link on it. And in addition to the $2,495 fee, the Renaissance membership maintenance fee is $325 per year. That was this year. And there's a capital fund fee of $100 paid at closing. Toscana, which is the, if you're familiar with Sun City, it's the two-story condos that are owned by the Renaissance Club. They have a $500 capital fee, which is paid at closing. There's $166 for a background check, plus all the condo fees. Verona has a $150 transfer fee, and the buyer pays $166, which they call an application fee, but it is for background checks. And Toscana and Verona fees are in addition to the Renaissance fees.
What a deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
You still have to pay the capital funding fee.
Yes.
So it's in addition to the 3,000.
It's addition to, this is all in addition
Just
to the
everything.
309 per person and the $3,000 fee. This is in addition to that. And it changes over time, so you should probably check it for, before you put it in writing. The documentation is required, this is my compliance head, it's going on, is a homeowners association disclosure at minimum for every home in some city, not Kings Point. If it's condo, it needs a homeowners association disclosure and a condo rider with all the information. Any questions for the residents of Kings Point?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you pay 3,000,
Yeah.
and then if you take done some city center,
You don't get it.
well, what if you move on to some city center?
There is an option of, if you move from one house to another, Kings Point, there are 110 condo associations and 4 homeowners associations. The condos are not homeowners associations. So anytime you hear reference to homeowners association, it should be only for those 4 associations that are homeowners associations. And the difference is the condos own a percentage of the land that is part of the association that they homeowners associations get a survey. Homeowners associations, they must purchase their own regular insurance just like any homeowner. In the condos, you get an HO6 policy which covers the interior of your property. The Spectrum cable is part of your monthly fee, as well as the water, the sewer, your maintenance for outside, whatever. So it's the fees appear to be very high, but when you factor in all the things that include it, it's probably cheaper. But Spectrum, it includes 2 cable boxes, 200 BPS internet, and the mental homes that are homeowners. One of them is Nottingham, and Nottingham has decided not to join the federation. The federation is in charge of all the contracts in Kings Point, and so therefore they don't get the legal deal. They don't get, you don't go there with the paperwork to First Services to make applications and stuff. They have their own deal, just like outside. They have no reserve. They hold reserves and get lawn maintenance and watering. But if you have an issue with your roof in Nottingham, they don't fix it for you. It's only for the reserves that are held are only for replacing the roof every 2 years. And that is just Nottingham Association. The other condo association, the other homeowners association is Yorkshire. Yorkshire was built by WCI, and they're totally different animals. They're just like any single family home. They do get the water and sewer. They do get their lawn maintenance done, but any that stuff they do it on their own. But they are part of the federation, so when you make your application, you the other 2 are Somerset and Richmond. Those are Minto properties, and they do hold reserves. They are part of the federation, so you treat them just like condos, only their homeowners. Quail Pass, if you're familiar with Kings Point, when you go in Kings Point, they're right on Kings Boulevard. They're tile roof homes that are on the left-hand side. They are a condo association. They are not single family. They are a condo. However, they have to have their own HO3 insurance, and they maintain their own rules. Also any of the ones that are toward the back, toward the golf course, they possibly could have a pool in them.
There you go. It's not open, so just tell me.
Age restrictions. Just like in Sun City Center, anyone of any age can own a property in Kings Point. They just can't live there unless they're 55 or older. In general, 1 unit resident must be 55 in 80% of the community property. That's the rule wherever the paperwork. It's the HUD guideline regarding it. It isn't a rule that Kings Point made up or whatever. It's age restricted properties. It's the same in Valencia Lakes. It's the same in Central Falls. That 80% of, in order to qualify for housing for older person status, 80% of the properties need to be occupied by person 55 and older. In Kings Point, some of the older units, many of the older units, for some reason, they changed their rules and the 20% needs to be 55 and older. So there is no option to there is a list on KWSS.com that gives you where you can apply, where you can't. Don't waste your time applying. Don't waste your time showing. Some of them have changed their. They've determined that it's a student, and they have changed that. And also, just a heads up that when you make application over to an association, they don't have to accept it. And I can tell you it's nothing to my personal experience. Yeah. Yeah. I had somebody who was 54 years old, a disabled military veteran, and they were declined from our group. So we went and she got some papers. But it must have been something related to the, maybe they were borderline. You don't really know why they decided to. So it is not a given that when you apply to get it. At the annual meetings, that is required it's required by Congo law. They take place in Kings Point in January and February. Things change regularly. The fees change. Sometimes, most of the time they go up. Sometimes they go down. They change some of the rules regarding the pets. They change some of the rules regarding rentals. So don't think because it was that way last year, it's going to be that way this year. You really need to check the KPSCC.com under property management every time you do it. There's pet restrictions, so many pet restrictions that some of them allow 2 pets, some of them allow 2 pets that are 15 pounds or less, some of them allow 2 pets that are big dogs, some of them allow no pets, but I happen to live in an association where it's a no pet area, and at least 75% of the people in my association. Okay, so, but you do have to sign a document when you come in, and it's a notarized document that says you understand that it's a pet restricted area. You can get a form signed by, there's a form that they provide that can be signed by filled out by your doctor. In most instances, they allow it, but they don't have to. But they risk being sued by the Americans with Disability Act, and most of them. The other rules are rules regarding all sorts of things: rental pets, plants, ornaments outside, lanai size, and shapes. And it's important and legally required that the homeowner get a copy of the declaration of condo. And they should, the document is about this big. Everyone can read it and go to sleep. But they need to understand that the rules are there. And if they're going to if they're going to be doing rentals, you don't want to get them into a place where rentals are allowed once a year. You don't want to get them into a place where rentals aren't allowed the first 18 months. So you want to pay attention to some of those things, and there's lots of them that serve around. There is a 3-day rule, which that's what I'm passing now. It's, in a condo, you have 3 days from when you have received the declaration of the condo to review it and withdraw from the contract. What that means to you as an agent is if they get it 3 days before closing, they can not close. It's a federal law, and it's not something that's optional. So they can take advantage of it if they choose to. So it behooves you to get them the condo lots and the updates in the budget and financials immediately. Just these things are some samples of what is included in Kings Point. And the document you're looking at on the top is it's actually how it is divvied out in the budget. So each item is paid for individually in the budget. How things are divvied up amongst the whole. Just so you understand the background, in 2007, all the unit owners were filing legal action against WCI, who was the builder at the time, to actually buy the amenities, and that was dragging on. WCI went bankrupt, so the residents of Kings Point lost their it was a thing that was done very quickly. There was a loan taken out, so there is a loan there. It's been used a couple of times. It has a balloon at the end, but it is paid for as part of your monthly condo fee. It isn't anything. What happened in September of 2021, each home in Kings Point pays $150, which is for a capital improvement. It's similar to that $3,000 fee on it. It is paid now at closing. It is a seller's expense, but usually it's negotiated on the contract to be a buyer's expense. So, but it needs to be negotiated on the contract. The Kings Point amenities are numerous. The Kings Point amenities are numerous. There's the Pond Cove Cafe, which is a bar and a casual restaurant. There's an indoor culture lounge. It has from 4 to 8. It has happy hour every day, so it's very busy with people that are getting cheaper. So, there's also, since COVID happened, they have what they call the portico pickup. You can call them and order your food, and they'll deliver it to your car. There is the Loft Lounge that's in the South Club. It's open for dinner events, special functions. People can reserve it. It has a nice view. And it's open sometimes more so during snowbird season than in the summer. The Per Cafe is in the North Club, and that's good for a casual breakfast. People sit around and read the newspaper and just. The 2020 Center is the 2-story building, and it includes a fitness center, aerobic studio, yoga studio, Spa Serenity, which has hair, nails, massages, all that kind of stuff. Upstairs, there's a full kitchen where they can have a culinary arts classes, and there's some rooms there you can reserve. The South Club has an indoor and outdoor pool and a hot tub outside. The North Club has an indoor and an outdoor pool and a hot tub inside. There's a community pool in the Nantucket area, and there's a pool located in the Knowles community, which is private for the Knowles residents. They pay for it, they support it. It is not open to the all of the amenities, they all are money-making deals. So they defray your condo fee. So none of them are rated at a loss. They don't rate at a loss. So in 2017, the Master Association signed a 10-year lease with Bubbling for use of the golf courses, and they use the golf courses that are closed. And they use them for riding bikes, walking the dog, whatever. But they are open to the people in Kings Point. unlike the ones in Sun City Center where they're restricted. There is a cyberspace, they call it. It's a building that used to be the clubhouse for them, and it's cyberspace now. They have faxing and a gentleman will help me. There is a dog park. The dog park is a private club. You need to join it. Dog and want to use the dog park. It's not open to there is pickleball courts, a whole bunch of them. The people are really big. There's a championship there every year. There's tennis, lawn bowling, and well over 100 clubs, more close to. There is community-sponsored bus trips. There's also the tram service, which is great for people who don't have a car or don't drive. It's called the tram service. It comes and picks you up at your house, and it'll take you to one of the clubhouses. And from the clubhouses, the tram again will take you to Walmart on a regular schedule. Walmart, Publix, and sorts of places. The fees that are expected at closing. There is a $165 fee is paid to First Services for them to do their paperwork. There is a $175 escalable fee that is paid by the seller. And these are subject to change. There's a $150 fee that's paid to the Federation of Kingsport for capital improvements. I mentioned that before. Make sure you negotiate it on the contract because it is a designated responsibility of the seller, but in 99% of the cases, the buyer pays it. There is $100 or $50 or sometimes $0 fee that is paid at your application to the association. That you have to find out the amount from the list of people. Those, they want you to have your paperwork there at least 10 days ahead of time at First Services, so that they get time to process. And if you don't get it there 10 days ahead of time, sometimes it's not too high. And they want you to do it 10 days ahead of time so that they have time to process it. And it could hold up your closing. It's also wise to go to KWSS.com and pull your paperwork as you do. Pull it once and sitting there in April. The paperwork could change. So, and then you have to go have them fill it out all over again. And again, some of it has to be notarized, so it's just pain in it. Again, I told you 10 days ahead of time. SCC version of the document. For purchases after closing, the buyer should go to the First Services office at 1904 Clubhouse Drive with your HUD settlement form. They'll get a temporary pass to get the car and use the amenities. It takes about a week for they sign those for them to get their official badge, but they can renew a badge that you receive. Go to Clubhouse and get that completed. The seller's agent can help the seller by directing them to First Services or taking them. And they need to have, quite often, they'll have the big fat book, but they don't have the updates. And so you need to have the updates. I mean, you have the big fat book from 1973, and things have changed, so, like this much. And so they need to have the updates. They have to have the updated budgets and the updated financials. So they can get those all from First Services, and they all have a little fee associated with them. And master insurance policy. If anybody is doing a deal that has financing, you need to get the master insurance policy. Go to PIOdirect.com. I'll get the master insurance policy. And it costs, I think, $65. So you're better off to send your lender there and let the lender pay for it and then add it on to the fees. Kings Point, another slide. There's 3 governing bodies. There is the individual association, there is the federation, there is the master association. There's also the COA, which they provide services in the rules committee. The individual associations manage the day-to-day business and the day-to-day budget with the assistance of first services. They manage the painting, reserve accounts. The federation manages all the large contracts such as lawn, insurance, cables. The master association actually is responsible for maintaining the roads, the waterways, the sewers, the water pipes, the ponds, and also all the roads in Kings Point are private and they're maintained by the master association. That makes a difference when you're driving your golf cart. If you live in Sun City, your golf cart needs to be put away before dusk and not out before dawn. In Kings Point, as long as they have lights, you can drive your golf cart all night. Realtor restrictions. Realtors can enter into the visitor's gate with a business card. If you have automobile signs and they're on your car, you can go through the main gate during the daylight hours. At night, you should go through, at night actually, they only have. You should go through there and probably gonna have.
So in the very recent past, they're no longer taking business cards, and they require me to have a license.
So you have to stay licensed.
So that's just, it was a surprise to me as well. So
Yeah, if you have signs on your car, you can just zip right through.
real estate signs?
Yeah, you don't know which
Yeah.
magnetic sign, you just go through the other gate.
Okay.
Yes,
That's a good reminder that by law, you're required to be carrying a real estate license
yes,
on
you
you
are
anyway,
required to
so
be, yes.
hopefully you'll have that if you did.
And the same, that's the same thing for home inspectors, photographers, painters, all of those people.
They can get in without, they can go in through the regular way if they've got signs on their vehicles. Whether they have to go in.
Usually they don't have signs on them. And yes, they either need to be called in or they need to have some paperwork that, like a contract that says I'm coming in to do an appraisal or I'm coming in to make photography or something. Usually my customers come in and call them in. There is no signage allowed in Kings Point, no signage whatsoever. Jump over. There's no open houses allowed. There's workarounds, and I don't want to drag the class down, but we have done it over time when the market was really slow. And got together with a whole bunch of the agents and sent out a postcard invitation to the neighbors around and told the neighbors to invite their friends. And then they've invited their friends. And we've had all kinds of things like a card game where they go around and they get a check off each house that they go to or they get a card and the one with the best hope. There's all kinds of little things like that. But you can't just have people come in. They have to be called in by somebody.
We did it recently. That's where each person worked for that day. And then like a health storm came around. So, you know, my wonder is, and obviously, listen, we're just starting to get our feet wet in Kings Point. the idea that people wouldn't feel to adequately advertise their home as the seller who lives in there, that just doesn't sit right. It just is strange.
Been that way since 1973.
Yeah,
and
that's
all
what
other things.
That's what they said too.
And
I
you
found that
actually, if
popular.
you had somebody sitting in the guard shack, you had a good guy.
Yeah, well, that's what we found out. They
Yeah,
had
you had a good guy,
So-
you didn't have a grumpy good guy,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
You know, there are grumpy people and there are nice people.
Well, so,
Yeah.
what do you think, I mean, and this is, you know, I want to run it by you. Well, let's talk about some of those.
It's, they want to maintain the integrity of the game, which is why they don't just let it like. We've tried to get them to do it like, open it once a month. Now it's not such an issue because nobody's going to stay on the market. So it doesn't really matter, but back in 2005, 6, 7, when the market was so slow, you needed to be creative to get people in there to see the properties. A lot of people, even people who live in Sun City Center, they have never been in Kings Point, and they think that the Sun Towers is Kings Point because they think it's condos and that's the high-rise building. They've never been in there, and they've never been past the front,
Right.
which is the old houses, to see that there is beautiful houses in there. And that was, I was just with
I mean, that they were,
lenders. Okay, not all lenders lend in Kings Point. And all the big banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, none of those lend in Kings Point. So if you get a deal that has a pre-approval from any of those, don't take it. Because it's gonna go right through. We had one of those banks, Bank of America, walk from the closing. And the reason is because, this document has a line item on there that says reserves. And by the Dodd-Frank law, it has to be a certain amount of reserves in order for them to qualify to. In fact, there is plenty of reserves held. It's just that the reserves that show up with this document are only the reserves for PTP. They're not the reserves that are held by the Master Association and the Federation for other things. And those people at the big leagues can't figure it out. And you're better off, okay, the ones that there's several that are really good. Partners Funding is one, Trustco is one, Van Dyke Mortgage is one. There are a few others, but you're pretty safe with those. In general, Kings Point is not qualified for being an FHA. FHA, they've never been approved for FHA, they're never going to be approved for FHA, so there's never going to be FHA. There have been some associations that have been approved by the VA, and this is the list that was available.
You know, of any associations or lenders that do Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac?
Yes, they just have to do a full review of the phone book. But yes, they can. And that all comes into that, like you can do it, like, Partners Funding will do it. They'll do it with 5%. Like if they do a full review of the docs, they do a full review of the funding. Yes, they can do it.
I know, I had an office with 10% down. I do with Trustco a lot, and they would tell me.
Yeah, trust fund, because it's an investor, it's a portfolio lender, but definitely Partners Funding does it. And then that would really. So that- And. Yeah. The KPW you is the Kings Point warranty. It's only available in Kings Point. It is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay, there are 4 different levels: platinum, gold, silver, basic. It isn't required that you have it. It's an independent decision to have it or not. But they are right on site. The KPW people. They're usually, if you have a problem of an emergency, especially with demographics, they will be there in 10 minutes. There is no copay for heating and air conditioning. There is the basic plan, it's heating and air conditioning, and they'll repair some other appliances until they are deemed unrepairable, and then they will tell you to go buy a new one. But the platinum plan, they'll do a whole bunch of extra things with the platinum plan. And then, and I'm not here to sell you the KPW, but I wouldn't ever not have it. I usually have the silver, but the gold is pretty good too. The gold will replace your water heater for you. But you need to, they're right on that SCC.com, there's a link to KPW. And if you don't have it, please tell your seller to get it. Okay, the golf carts and the golf cart guide, I just got into that a little bit. You can have one of these. They're in Sun City Center, they're only allowed on in the daylight hours. In Kings Point, not the case. Go to the bar. You can actually get pinched for jumping the golf cart. If you go to the clubhouse and have a committee. But as long as you have lights and turn signals, you're good. There is a website, kingspointsuncoast.com. They have all kinds of really great advertising material. But I would not send my customer there because they also have for sale by owners on there. So, and for rent by owners on there. But if you go over there and plagiarize some of their stuff, they have really good information that you can create your own, your own marketing material, what they've already done. And I've done it many times. It's kingspointsuncoast.com. Okay. And lastly, the Kings Point litigation, it's not going to be over with anytime in the near future. So usually, if you're working with a buyer or if you're working with a seller, the buyer of that property needs to sign a thing that says they understand that there is litigation going on, and it's not safe, but you have to do it by law.
Could you touch on what's going on? Because we have one right now. I was actually gonna ask.
It's there's 2 things on it. One of them is it's like the Master Association the Federation used to be owned by First Service. Since a couple of years ago, the Master Association decided that they wanted to hire a different management company. So they're managed by that stuff. First Services won't give them their documents. Okay, it's fighting over toys. I'm sure that the reason is because all the documents are all mixed together because they've been that management company's been the management company. That's what this litigation is for. There's also some other litigation going on in